warping text and how to change the text and move things around. Right now, the only warp that I got is on the word secret. So this is obviously a rise little warp. And I was able to fit the words the and of into these negative spaces, right? Very, very simple. Let's see if I can push it a little bit further. I've got lots of nice space down in here. So what I want to do is I'm going to curve this text. And this is something maybe that I worked out in my sketch that I was supposed to do ahead of time. How do I do a curve? How do I do my, where do I go to? You tell me. Object? Uh-huh. Make with warp. Very good. And it brings up my warp options. I can turn on preview. And I can play around with the different types of warps that I want. So if I wanted an arch or an arc, we'll go for an arc that way. And if I'm satisfied, I can say OK and then just move it down into place. Now I'm starting to fill up some of this more negative space. I'm adding extra shapes, and it tends to fit pretty well in what I have. Remember, everything is inside of that envelope. So as I move it, I can move that around. Now I can move this around. Hey, I can even fill in this area. Now I could fill it in with maybe a ribbon. I could use my type. Let's see what I can do with the word getting started. So under Object, Make with Warp. And for me, this is just play. I can arch the upper side of it. So now I can let this match that curve that I have up there. That looks pretty cool. I can do a bulge, so maybe the whole word can be done this way, and the bottom starting can be done. But this is just kind of the play around stage of it. I can't start playing around until I know my design works. How do I know it works? Because when I laid it out by itself, it worked well just kind of with straight text. It had good alignment, good proximity, good layout. I can know it works because I did a sketch ahead of time to see what it works. I know this works because I've done this a couple of times. Let's get the word started. Maybe even started can have its own little distortion. Let's do something on the bottom. So maybe it'll flare out like that. We'll say okay. So is this making sense? Keep it simple. You don't have to overdo it, but I do want you to look at the entire design as you're designing it out. So as I did that, things were moving around, but now it has a lot more pizzazz to it. It's, not just as boring as possible. I think the word is a little bit small, so maybe I'd keep playing around something to draw my attention to that. I'll keep playing with that. Here's the next thing I wanted to show you that'll help you out when you do your type. So I'm going to just type out some words. I'm going to type the word secret. Remember, we're using our type tool. And I told you to just click once. And so I'm going to type secret. Secret. And I'll make it bigger. If you open up your characters palette, remember this is the one that shows all the fonts and shows all the styling of it. There's some extra stylings that you can do with your type. Notice as I typed it, it was in all caps. At the very bottom of your characters palette, these will allow you to quickly type in all caps, or if I turned it off, now it's lowercase because I typed it in lowercase. I can make it small caps, so if I had, this was an uppercase letter, and we'll select it, and I chose this. Now all my lower cases are uppercase, but they're smaller. So that's what small caps allows you to do. And so very quickly I can change something to all caps or small caps, and I can play around. As you type things out, you'll notice you need to have certain spacing. I can put words up in this negative spaced area because it's upper and lower case. Does that make sense? This is just a great, easy way of doing it. That's found in your characters palette as you're working within this one. Not going to play around with the paragraph, so we're going to keep everything in the characters palette. Any questions on that? Just remember to type out all the words that you want. Then you can move them around, start placing everything where you have it. For today, so this is today's exercise that we're going to pull through. I gave you the step-by-step instructions. I want you to incorporate a ribbon design in your design somehow. The example that I showed you all yesterday, I drew a ribbon behind words. You can have ribbons connecting one word to another word. You can have ribbons going on the foreground or the background. It's all good. Let's look at some that I quickly found on the internet. Let's see how they're using. Weddings usually have a lot of ribbons or a lot of ribbon designs. Here's a great one that's got a lot of ribbon design. I'll zoom in. Check out how they're using the ribbons on this. Very simple. Does that warp look familiar? That's the rise warp. You can do that in InDesign. Notice the background of these. So in the foreground, they keep it as kind of a single line. In the background, they've got a little bit of shading texture off to the back. So that's how they're using that ribbon. Oh, even check out how they're finishing it. One out into the other. So you can do research on ribbon styles. Let's see if I can find another quick one. Here's another great ribbon style they kept very, very simple. An arched ribbon, and then in the back, and drew off this particular line. All they're doing is drawing lines. Even this can be considered a ribbon in some cases. Here's another kind of more decorative ribbon. It's almost like a draped style of ribbon. I want you to add this in some way to your design that you're working with. Here, of course, is just want to view the image. There we go. Another style that you can work with from here. I love the little curlicues that you work with. Here's how to do it. Very simple, but there are a couple of steps to work through for this one. I'm going to move. Let's see, I've got everything in its own layer. I'm going to make another layer just for our ribbon. The tool we're going to be using is our pen tool. So this will give you lots of practice using the pen tool. Remember, the pen is made to draw custom lines and to place the points exactly where you want it to be. As far as the fill and the stroke go, we're going to keep our fill color at none, and we're going to set the stroke to just be a solid black, or whatever color. If you want it to be white, you can do that. I'm just going to work on solid black. So no fill, only working in a solid stroke. Here's what I do. I'm going to show you a simple ribbon to draw. All I'm going to do is draw a curved line. Click once, click and drag. Remember, that'll give you your curved line. And then when I click again, it follows that curve on the edge. Y'all can do that? Very simple, very, very easy stuff. Here's the next thing. I'm going to open up my stroke palette. I'll drag it off. We'll open up all the, there we go, all the extra stuff that goes along with it. Remember, on the stroke palette, you can change the weight of your line. So if I wanted that line to be thicker, that's an easy way of making it thicker. If I wanted to have my line have a tapered edge, almost as if it was drawn by a calligraphy brush or a paint pen or something like that, right now everything's nice and even. In my stroke palette, at the very bottom, looking for my profile, I'm going to change my profile from uniform to one of these. And here's kind of, it gives you an idea of what it looks like. I'll use a tapered edge for this one. So with that, now check out how it looks. Very simple. It's still following the line. I can still add on and draw with it. But instead of it being a solid profile, I can change up how it starts and ends. So if I wanted it to be thick, getting all the way thin, that's one easy, quick way of doing it. I'm kind of a fan of this first one that starts off like this. So for your ribbon, you're going to draw one curve. What I like to do is then grab my selection tool and make a copy of this curve. And just drag it straight down. So now I've got the thickness set up. Get my pen tool again. And instead of connecting the two ends, so I'm not going to click right there, I'm going to click slightly off of it. Click once, and go down, click again. Notice that they're not connected. That's another big thing. Don't want to connect them. Just draw off my line. I'll do the same thing for over here. Deselect it, click and click, and then use my selection tool, and let's make those a little bit thicker. 10 points, change the profile. Oh, come on, deselect. Pretty cool. You get the idea? It's stylized. It's not a solid ribbon that I'm making. It's a styled type ribbon. If I wanted something to go behind it, or if I wanted it to zigzag off the back, then all I've got to do is add on whatever else that I need it to be. So if I wanted it to do something like this, drew that, and change the style of it. Doesn't have to be the same thickness. But if this is an edge, then I need to draw the edge. If this is the end point, maybe it'll do something fancy like this. Goes off the back from there. Pretty cool. If I wanted it to go in front, just remember your rules of perspective. If it's going to go in front of there, maybe it'll do something like this. Well, this is being blocked out, so I'll need to cut this in some way. Let's go ahead and style it so that it can be seen. But that should be cut off. Here's how you can cut a line. The best tool to use, it's over here. It's usually hiding under the eraser tool, is a scissors tool. Scissors tool does exactly what you would think it would do. I can click on a line and cut it. Let's choose this one. There we go. And cut it right where I want it to be. So now it's in two different lines. We'll select this one, delete it, and it makes sense. Let's see if I can do another one. Let's get a fancy one going. What I want you to do is to practice making them look very natural. So if I was to do, say, we'll do a curved one. That curves around into itself. Something like that. Pretty cool. I've got an edge here, got an edge here, even an edge right there. So just draw a line. Straight down from there. However deep you want it to be. Maybe even this edge right here. And then you can format it, change the style of it to match your design. Pretty cool, pretty simple. When I draw the bottom edge, instead of copying it, I'm just going to redraw it. But I do need for it to match whatever is that's on top. So now the top edge and the bottom edge match up. It wouldn't look right if I tried to do something like this. Why is that wrong? It's two different types. A ribbon wouldn't bend that way. It would still have to curve relatively the same as if it was right there. Select it, format it, change it up. In your grading, one of the things I'm going to look for is how well you rendered a ribbon. Make sure it's rendered well. Don't make it too sloppy. Make sure that the edges are nice and clean, that it looks good. Let me come and look at it. Let me critique your ribbon, your drawing skill using the Adobe software, using this vector type drawing. Some other things, last little thing, and I'll let you work on it. If you wanted to add, say, shading or some texture to your design, here's a quick and easy way of doing it. I'll use this one first. You can do the same thing, kind of as a cross-hatching type technique. I'm just going to draw a series of parallel lines all the way across. We want to make sure that they're pretty evenly distributed. And always go back and clean it up. So that's one way. Very quickly, I just drew some lines. I'll move these around so they're nice and even. And even with these, I can select all of them. I can change their profile, maybe even make them a little bit bigger. So now I've got a shading technique that looks like that. Pretty cool. You can do the same thing for a curved edge. So if I wanted this to be nice and curved, let's grab my pen tool. I'll click here. Let's give it that kind of curve. This is what I would do. Let's make it thicker. Change my profile, something, yeah, that'll work. And instead of redrawing all of these, I would just make a copy of them. All the way down. Maybe even move them over till they intersect with that particular line. So now it's got a nice curved edge to how it's working with as well. Pretty cool? Okay? That's what I want you to do. Start off using the ones that I handed out to you. Try recreating these really well. I want you to do 10 different designs of ribbon. If you need to look up some inspiration or some of the things, how a ribbon would look, I just went to Google and I typed in ribbon clip art. Of course, you get these type. Sometimes you'll get banner clip art, so ribbon banners tend to give you a lot better styles that you can try to copy, try to pull from. Some of these look a little bit better than others. That would be an awesome one to try to recreate. So notice how all of this, it's just, this is one shape, this is one shape, another shape, and another shape. All they're doing is changing the fill color inside of it. Break it down into simple things that you can work from. One shape to another shape. To incorporate it into your design, you would look for how can you place it behind, let's see, say the word secret. So if I wanted to draw it off, grab my pen tool, let's make it. Turn on my, let's make another layer behind it. And perhaps I could draw off a ribbon which follows this one. I'll make it thicker, change up how it looks. See how quickly I'm drawing this ribbon? Very simple, very easy thing to do, but it's adding a little bit of punch to my particular design. I can let it flip around behind here, maybe even connect in with getting ahead. This is where your design and flow of your entire design comes through. What I'd like to see, at least by the end of today, show me your idea for how you want to lay out your type for your quote that I gave you. All cool? All right, I'm going to turn it over to y'all, let y'all go ahead and get started.